Joining me this fine, beautiful, sunny day from Thunder Bay, Ontario, not Manitoba, Thunder Bay, Ontario, Matt Valley, head coach, Kam River Fighting Walleye. Matt, thank you for taking the time. I know you're in the middle of a bit of a self-isolation / teaching program because you are a teacher as well. And you got a little class coming up, so I'm glad you're taking care of this time with me. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Theo. You know, it's when you reached out to me, I was super excited for one, especially after watching the stuff you did with Derek a few months back. And you know, to me, it's you know, you guys have a lot of followers, and it's nice to get the word out and just talk hockey, talk shop, and talk fighting walleye with some of our fans.
So before we talk hockey, let's find out who this head coach is. Matt Valley, you look a little younger than I do, but I'm pretty sure there's a wealth of hockey knowledge and other knowledge in between that 6 inches of ears, correct?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. You know, first off, I'll take the age thing, I think, as a compliment. I just turned 30 this year. I know everyone bugs me that I'm younger, stuff like that, but you know, 30 sometimes doesn't feel all that young. Definitely getting up the stairs, putting on socks, stuff like that gets older or harder as you get older. So just a little message out to the kids there. But yeah, I mean, a little younger. This will actually be my second year as a head coach. My first year as a head coach was last year with the Thunder Bay Minor Midget Kings, or I guess Hockey Canada's, you know, discarding the whole midget, bantam, peewee talk. So that would be our U16 program here in Thunder Bay. You know, for the Manitoba fans out there, we played against Rink Academy's Elite 15s a few times. So that's the age group you're looking at there. And, you know, we had you know, as far as our standards went, we had a very successful season, and I really enjoyed it. That group of young men, you know, will forever hold a special place in my heart. You know, as the first group I got to work with as a head coach. I worked with them the year before as an assistant with the Bantam program, which would be our you know, our 14U or U15 age. So yeah, I've been coaching for about 5 or 6 years. I started out at the junior B level as an assistant coach here in Thunder Bay. And as you said, I'm a teacher as well. Right now I'm teaching 3 high school math courses online for a high school in Terrace Bay Scriber, which is about 3 hours from Thunder Bay. An occasional teacher, which supply teacher, usually on supports here in Thunder Bay. You know, I have a fiance named Christy. We're expecting a kid in July. Can't wait for that. I'm excited to be a dad. I could go on forever about myself, to be honest. I mean, there's lots of stuff going on. I'm busy as heck all the time, but you know, my primary focus outside of my family life is definitely the fighting walleye right now, and I can't be happier or more excited, I should say, to get going here.
I've never asked this question to anybody, Matt, so you're my first inaugural on this one. The other half of you, is she ecstatic of you being a head coach and potentially being away from the house and more into the rink, or does she consider this the occupation, the opportunity for you to be that head coach?
That's a good question. And, you know, a lot of people always bug me about that, about, you know, how's the wife feel about this or that. And, you know, Christy is very supportive of number one, who I am and my dreams as a coach, as a professional. She's fully supportive. To be honest, one of the main reasons I ended up taking that minor midget team last year was because of her. She said, like, you know, you're thinking about it every day here for a couple of weeks, just do it. You know, I can't quote her exactly here, but like she said, basically shut the, you know what, up and just do it because you know you want to do it and I support you. And I'm happy I did because believe it or not, it's actually nice when you're in a relationship to have some alone time, some me time, and coaching is my me time. You know, as much as I love it, for sure. It's the reason I love it is because I get to do it with some close personal friends, colleagues, but also I get to build relationships with young men and, you know, kind of help, you know, them in their journeys in hockey and in life. And I really, really enjoy that. Obviously, as a teacher, it's something I'm passionate about. So, yeah, I would say Christy's without a doubt supportive, but definitely comes with some additives, some extra stuff where I got to pull my weight when I am at home for sure.
So like she's your Adrian to your Rocky. That's basically how we're going to put it right there, because you got to have that support in the house. And congratulations on the engagement and the little one on the way. And hopefully it's around July 17th. I don't know why I say that date, but I'll put that on the calendar and we'll hopefully go for that one, Matt. You talk about the relationship between adolescents, teenagers, and you know yourself being a teacher. How important is that as a head coach to understand this day and age, what's going on with players and the juggling that they have with, you know, their lives as well as, you know, their goals on the ice?
It's everything for me. Again, like a younger coach, we'll call it this new age, new style approach to coaching. I'm not saying I'm reinventing any wheel or anything, but I will say that, I learned this actually early on in my coaching career, number one, and two, actually doing my master's work, doing some research in a local high school here. If you want kids to engage fully, if you want kids to actually give you everything they've got, you have to, number one, build a relevant, honest relationship with them. Number one, so they know you and you know them, and you show them time and time again that you care about that and who they are, and you believe in what they can bring to the table. And, gone are the days of this drill sergeant militant coach that gets everything out of his players. It worked for me when I played. It made me a better player at times, for sure. Worked for a lot of people, but I think that's because, and you hear time and time again, whether it's guys on a podcast or guys in interviews in the NHL or whatever it is, it's like, man, looking back, I didn't give it my all. I was nervous. I was scared. I just fell in line, right? I fell in line. And I don't want kids that want to fall in line. I want kids that want to come and open up. And I want kids that want to come and give me everything they got and build towards something real and really, again, contribute in a relevant way and bring what they got to the table. And if you're a creative player, be creative. If you're a simple meat and potatoes player, be that player. And I want you to feel comfortable with who you are. And you can't feel comfortable with who you are and bring what you are to the table if you got some guy screaming down your ear every time you turn a puck over, stuff like that. And so to me, as a teacher, first and foremost, and then as a relationship builder, as a coach, as someone who works with kids, like that piece is everything. You need to actually care about your players, number one, and then they need to know that you actually care about them. And a strong, relevant, honest relationship is, I find, the best way to do that.
Honesty is a big thing for player-coach relationships, teacher-player relations, teacher-student relationships. You talk about the potential of a player opening up. When it comes to a team like this in its inaugural year, you don't want players to be scared. You want them to be able to play at their best. How is it as a coach and your coaching staff? Like, how are you going to be able to try to get the best out of your players without feeling that nerve or that anxiety, knowing that, this is a brand new thing and there's a brand new team? Does it really feel like a brand new team to you as a head coach?
The funny thing about it is it's all a new beginning. It's all from the ground up. It's a foundation. We're all building together. So that's something that, my recruits that I've talked to, I don't want to say my recruits, our recruits, sorry. We're in this together, me, my assistant GM, my GM, director of scouting, all of our scouts, my assistant coaches, my owners. We're all in this together. And something we really, I don't want to say preach, but we really, really converse with our players on is that this is ground up. So to me, it's new to everyone. So it's not really new to anyone at the same time. It's not like I'm stepping into an existing team with 8 returning players that I kind of have to cater to and build around. We have the freedom and the opportunity to, say to everyone, it's like, this is a new beginning. Like, yeah, you might have had a rough year last year, or, your midget career might not have went how you wanted to go. Or, last year, the 19-year-old, you were supposed to be a leader. You ended up being in and out of the lineup still, well, this is your chance to kind of, I don't want to say reinvent yourself, but to kind of maybe prove people wrong or again, just to come in and feel comfortable with, hey, this is a new beginning. Let's give it everything I got. And, in terms of getting the most out of our players, I think that's all we so far have really needed is, I can hear the excitement in kids' voices when I talk to them over the phone, especially the ones that are fully committed. And it didn't take much, just some honesty, some talk, and honest about who I am and what I'm going to bring to the table, and things I've heard about them and things I've seen on video and things, I think they have the potential to do or become. So when you hear kids on the phone, like I said, you can hear it in their voice when, you've really got to them and that they believe in what you're saying. And it's just special, right? Like I said, it's a ground up, it's a foundation thing, it's an expansion team. As much as we feel no pressure to maybe be the best team in the league right out of the gates, our general manager, Kevin McCallum, when, he helped Thief River get going, they broke the inaugural single season record as an expansion team in the SI. So that's kind of our goal, is we want to at least shoot for that, right? So we do feel some internal pressure. It's a good pressure. It's a competitive thing. We have a competitive group of people here. So I want kids that feel the same. And so far, we're getting them. So it's really nice to hear, like I said, these kids wanting to be part of something like ground up and really kind of for lack of a better word, shock the league or shock the nation or whatever it's going to be.
Absolutely. Let's take a quick break with Matt. We'll come back and we'll talk about what Mr. McCallum did with the rest of the coaching staff for the Kam River Fighting Walleye. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for a career in the salon industry? Check out Aveda Institute Winnipeg in the Exchange. What sets us apart is our student mentorship program, 95% placement rate after graduation, real-world salon experience, and network of 7,000 salons and spas. You will learn creative cut and coloring, latest trends and techniques, social media marketing, fashion shows, photo shoots, and more. Now accepting applications for 2018, so check us out and book your tour today. Aveda Institute Winnipeg. Hair school the way it should be.
Rally with us here from the Kam River Fighting Walleye. Mr. McCallum's put together this trio, the three amigos, if you will, almost like a pickerel rig, if you will, if there was three pieces of it. Trying to do something. I know you're laughing at me because
no, it's good.
It's classic. I mean, I love walleye. The loop, swoop, and pull and all that stuff, and catching them, and they're fantastic. And if you've never had a pickerel cheek, you've got a problem, as far as I'm concerned. And so we've got a little bit of young, we've got a little bit old. We've got a little bit of a different perspective, from your two assistant coaches that have joined you. Doug Colbin was mentioned a couple of weeks ago joining the staff, and now recently is Rylan Henley, another gentleman. So we have the three of you. Talk about the decision-making that occurred for this coaching staff to come together for this year.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, two great guys that I have like the utmost faith in, and not only that, but I totally trust and value their what they bring to the table, and I'm really happy that I have the relationship I do with both of them. So when I came on board, Kevin asked me what I wanted to do with coaching staff. So essentially, I kind of had as much free reign as you can imagine. He made some suggestions, but I kind of was allowed to, or was given the chance to do what I wanted. But having said that, what I wanted also was something that Kevin felt comfortable with. So we kind of both decided on, as long as one of my coaching staff members was a little older, I don't want to say older, but a little more experienced. To us, age wasn't the important thing. It was more someone that was maybe going to offset my, my excitement. That's a nice way to put it. I get going pretty good. I'm a little more vocal. I'm a little more high energy. So someone to offset me. So these two guys do that. So Colby was the first guy we brought on. I have a long-standing relationship with him. I mean, everyone in this area does. Anyone who knows much about hockey or coaching knows Colby and what he brings to the table. He's a great man. Very well, like I said, experienced and respected coach. And he's going to be a big kind of, not behind the scenes, but definitely a little more of a support role for me and Rylan, a mentor for me and Rylan, and going to give us another perspective, right? Because he's been there, done that on a lot of things. So, and then with Rylan, again, anyone who's read anything on him, me and him have been, basically best friends for a long time. Played hockey against each other when we were little kids, even though he's from Long Lac and tournaments and whatnot. And then, we played hockey here in Thunder Bay, AAA Kings together, and we actually aged out in the SI. So we came back together when we were 20 in the SI, and then played against each other in college hockey. And he's a chiropractor here in town. And his first year coaching was last year as my assistant. And, I could just tell right away he was a natural. And, again, a guy that doesn't need to say a whole lot most of the times in between new remissions. So, I'll say, Henry, you got anything? And he's like, nope. So he kind of does his one-on-one with his D-man. He works with the D-man pretty exclusively, to be honest. But a really good eye for the penalty kill and the defensive side of things. So someone that's a huge support for me, kind of be my, kind of go-to guy. And then the next guy we're going to announce, which, I don't want to break the story because, obviously we got media guys here that feel strongly about that. But the next guy we're bringing on is another young guy. Going to be more of a skill-based guy, handle the forwards, work with the power play, another experienced college hockey player, junior hockey player. Actually played his junior out in Manitoba and ended up playing college here in Thunder Bay. I won't break his name, but so we got a really good coaching staff. a good support staff for myself. Guys that are knowledgeable, love working with kids. They're good at it, and I'm honored to be surrounded by good people like that.
So the Three Amigos is going to become the Four Horsemen.
Yes,
and that's going to require 2 fishing rods now.
Yeah. Oh, for another walleye reference, we're gonna have a full stringer. There you go.
There we go. We're gonna have a stringer. Here it is. Perfect.
Yeah.
We won't make the announcement. So you beat me to my next question, actually, Matt. When it comes to, you said Ryland's going to be handling the defense. The new gentleman's going to be handling the forwards, the skill side of it. Doug's going to try to control you as much as possible because you tend to be a little bit more of a, speak first, act second kind of, or speak loudly and loudlier person. I take that from you, Matt, which is great. You wear your emotions on your sleeve because kids or players, youngsters, I should say, really attest to that first message that is delivered by a coaching staff. And what I found with, in my coaching years as well, the first thing that comes out of your mouth is registered by the player. And if it's a good thing or a bad thing, automatically that is what they will remember you by. Whether you're giving a pregame speech or a postgame discussion or intermission report, that first message is so key. How is it that you approach your breaks and how you talk with a young group of young men when you're trying to rally the troops, you're trying to calm them down? What is your go-to message when it comes to keeping this group together as one?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And if I'm being honest, I never felt I'm not a big planner in my speeches. I never was, whether it was, doing a presentation in class or like I said, addressing a team in intermission. Right from the get-go when I started coaching, that was something that, kind of came natural to me. There's a lot of things I had to learn as a coach, and there's a million things I still need to learn. I'm never going to learn it all. And the day that I think I do, I should probably retire. So that was definitely something that came natural to me. And I'm definitely speak from the heart guy. And sometimes that message is bang on. Sometimes it, maybe could have used a little adjustment here and there. And I actually listened to Rod Brindamore talk about this. And he was saying, I didn't realize getting into coaching how much you had to talk. I didn't realize how much it's as important as it is. It's not, but it's kind of everything. And you kind of always have to be on. And I didn't realize how inspiring I needed to be for these professional athletes. So it's even more so, I think, at the junior level is what comes out of your mouth and how it comes out of your mouth. Probably more importantly, it is such a big part of what you're doing. And I'm happy to say that that's probably one of the things that I can kind of naturally bring to the table. And then the X's and O's and stuff like that is something my assistants will help me, kind of dial in. So, my plan is to just kind of, as much as you don't want to be too reactive to the situation going on, you want to live in that moment, right? So it's my job to you kind of manage our personalities on our team, manage the emotions on our team, and to kind of read the situation, right? There's times where you might have had a crap first 2 periods, you're down by 2 goals going into the third against a team you should probably beat. Is that the time to come in and start throwing garbage cans and screaming at people? I don't think so. Okay. And even if you do end up losing, the best way your team's going to come back is if they know you believe in them and if you're calm and if you can kind of hold your emotions in check, because otherwise how can they, right? They're 20 years old, you're 30 years old. If you're a 30-year-old who can't, manage his emotions properly, yeah, there's a time to snap. There's a time to be passionate. There's a time to talk to the ref a little more aggressively than not. There's a time and place for everything, and you're not always going to be perfect. So that's something I've tried to, manage my expectations of myself, not to be too hard on myself. I'm going to make mistakes, but it is my job, to make sure that, I'm rallying the troops in the right direction. I'm steering the horse, down the road properly. And sometimes you got to push, sometimes you got to sit back. And, as long as my players know that I care about them and that I'm doing what I'm doing for the right reasons, I think that's all that matters.
Let's head down this road that's less traveled by the Kam River Fighting Walleye, because this is your inaugural year. Now making the step up to the SIJHL. I mean, you talked about Kevin having that experience, getting the Thief team together. What is it that you're looking for in terms of your team perspective and compete level in the SI this first year, and what type of challenges is this team potentially going to face in its inaugural year?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. I mean, moving, anytime you take a team and move it, kind of up the rung, so to speak, in junior hockey, you're going to deal with a bevel of hogwash. And what I mean by that is it's just there's so many like hoops to jump through in terms of, make sure you have the right rink or the right arena or the right players, the right people in your staff. But there's a lot of stuff that we've already overcome. I would say in regards to being prepared, like we're sort of ahead of schedule where we thought. Our next step, number one, is kind of dialing in our dressing room. We're in the rink already, but we kind of got to do some minor renovations. It should only take a couple months, so we're on track with that. But that's kind of our next step. But in terms of again, building a program, there's so many things you want to get the community support, whether it's businesses sponsoring or advertising or doing marketing in your arena through your team, generating that media buzz behind your team, which is such an important integral piece of any good program nowadays, especially in the world we're living in. You need to have a strong social media presence, which I think we're doing a good job at so far. You could always kind of amp that up, which is our plan, and we will, so people can look out for that. But in regards to playing in the league, I think, again, one thing that we're really looking forward to, number one, is having that other team in Thunder Bay is a little less travel. So having that crosstown rivalry is like something that, to us is maybe a little bit of a challenge at first because they're an established team with an established roster. But to us, that kind of gives us a nice story to play on and gives us a chip on our shoulder is we got this big brother we're ready to take a piece out of, right? So we're ready to do that. And again, some leagues, there's so much travel, right? You use like the Saskatchewan, let's use the Manitoba League, for example. Your Winkler Flyers and you got to drive up and play OCN. Well, that's not that's a long haul. I mean, from what I remember, that's probably got to be about a 10-hour drive. I don't know.
It's not fun, no.
And, I did that when I played in the MJ. I played in Swan Valley and, the travel is just killer sometimes. Our league, we don't really have all that much travel. I mean, Red Lake and Thief River are two longest trips, and they're not like baggers by any means. So, that's something that I think is going to help us. There's not too many extended road trips in that regard. But any league you're jumping into right off the hop, the challenge you face is establishing yourself, in a good way. You want to build relationships with the commissioner, with each owner, with each team, with each coach. Just kind of find your niche. Like, not every team has an identity already. Like, what's our identity going to be? I'm not going to talk about that too much today because, we have a plan and everything. But I think your identity will come once your team is formed and you start altering pieces here and there a bit. So just, again, establish yourself in that league as a relevant, real force here. And that's something I think that's going to be a hurdle out of the gates, but something that by Christmas we'll have figured out.
You definitely have the emblem and the logo well established. We talked about that a little bit before we started. That Fighting Walleye. The only knock on it I have is it should have a little bit more green with the orange, but nonetheless, it's a very, very, very prominent figure, and I like that a lot. We talked a little bit about the building of the team, the foundation of the team. We're not going to talk too much about, but talk about what the SIJHL does for drawing exposure and drawing players from all over North America potentially to Thunder Bay. What is that attraction for that potential junior player to Thunder Bay?
Oh, I think number one, having a league that's right in the name of it, international. We have teams in Canada and the United States. Not a lot of leagues have that luxury. So, we have kids that maybe are from Minnesota that are willing to come to Thunder Bay because realistically, if you're from Duluth, that's 3 hours. That's closer to home than 98% of hockey teams that you can play for are. So like that's a huge draw for us. Like our location, we're so close to the border, so you get kids from there. But Thunder Bay is often thought of as this like remote community and stuff, and it's like, well, it's right on Lake Superior. It's 40 minutes from the border. It's 6 hours from the Manitoba border. It's 6 hours from Sault Ste. Marie. It's sort of in the middle of nowhere and stuff. But once kids get here, they realize like, holy crap, this is like a really nice place to live. We got a nice mixture of everything, city, outdoors, stuff like that. There's two teams here. So the draw to come to Thunder Bay is there, especially once you get kids here. It's more where it's like, oh man, they tell their buddies, this is a great place to live, great place to play hockey. But the league in general, again, like we don't have that much travel. Yeah, there's only, I think, a lower number of teams in our league. That's something that's going to grow in the near future. There's a lot of teams now, a lot of smaller towns in northern Minnesota and northwestern Ontario that are knocking on the door to get in the league. So before you know it, this is going to be a 10-team league. And a big draw, I think, that people, once you start talking to them that know anything about it, is this is the quickest trip or quickest road or shortest path to the RBC. So, realistically, as long as you can be a competitive team, and you never know at the Dudley Hewitt, all you got to do is get there. And it's the shortest path. So I think that's a big draw for kids. And all it takes is having a couple good seasons. And from there, the play does the talking. So the league does a really good job at supporting us teams, the owners, coaches, whatever it is, at recruiting players. And again, what's nice is that being an international league, it's a lot easier to get kids from any of the four corners of the continent, right? Because like I said, it's an international league, so there are American teams. So that's kind of a nice thing for us to have.
We're going to take one more quick break with Matt Valley, head coach of the Kam River Fighting Walleye, and we're going to talk a little about this crosstown big brother rivalry and see what we're going to build in the prospecting years. We'll be right back. So, Matt, I have to quickly comment. You have a little bit of artwork behind you. Is that motivational to you? Is it old jerseys? What do we got behind you?
So, just over on this side is it's actually kind of one of those like wooden, not a poster, but it's kind of I don't know what you call it, but it's one of those wooden things, picture you hang on the wall, and it's actually an old picture of Boston Bruins and Toronto Maple Leafs game. It says, "Opportunity, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take." Wayne Gretzky. I like to joke around that it's Michael Scott that said that. I'm a big Office fan, so it's anyways, my mom got me that one time. I think I was like 18, so I've always kept that, and I love it, actually. And then I got John Tavares Leafs jersey behind me. I was a Leaf fan for most of my life. I've always been a John Tavares fan. He's my age. I always called him the chosen one because he got that exceptional status, and I remember watching him play in the OHL, and you didn't even notice him, and he had like 8 points. It was nuts. And he obviously, when he got to the Leafs, I was pretty pumped. Then I got some of my degrees behind me, and Team Canada, little pennant on the wall. That's from the Salt Lake City team. It's autographed by the whole Salt Lake City Team Canada men's team that won when Wayne Gretzky kind of put that team together. That's the infamous like Mario through the legs pass to Paul Kariya back door.
Yeah.
Then a signed Eric Stahl jersey, Carolina Hurricanes. I'm kind of have become a fan recently of them. My Jordan Stahl is married to my fiance's sister. So
there you go.
He's family. So I've kind of become a fan. And now that I actually watch more Canes games than Leafs games. And I'm a huge fan of, I love their decor is awesome. And huge fan of Svechnikov and Aho and Teravainen. And they got a good young core. They're an exciting team to watch. So
yeah, Sebastian Aho is that little Spitfire that I wish Patrick Laine had beside him in Winnipeg, but we can't see that. Can't pay them all the amount of money they really want, Matt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got to wait on that. Are you going to have a storm surge kind of thing after wins, just like Carolina, or are we not even going that far yet?
I don't know if we'll have a storm surge, but I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't put it past our ownership group. Our president, Derek Geddes, he's definitely one for the marketing and getting the fans engaged and putting on a show. And at some point, and don't get me wrong, Kevin, our GM, and the rest of our owners, Colin and Brad as well, I'm sure they're going to want something fun to do, and I don't know if it's going to be a storm surge or what we're going to call it, but the pond will be bumping for sure, and who knows, maybe they're going to start doing the Skull Viking clap, or maybe they'll do something else, and we'll kind of have no choice but to put on a show. We'll see.
Kam River as opposed to Thunder Bay. I've talked to Derek about that and the name of the team. To you, as a Thunder Bay, member of Thunder Bay now, what do you like more about the name Kam River as opposed to being called the second Thunder Bay team?
Yeah, actually, when you put it that way, that's everything, right? You don't want, as much as I revel in that I'm a little brother, my older brother, I was always ready to take a piece out of him, and he put me in my place quite a bit, but eventually I got my time. And that's the fun thing about being a little brother, is you're a little bit of an underdog. So we would revel in that, but we also, at that same time, you want to have your own identity and your own name. And I think that's a big part of it. Number one is just not being the other Thunder Bay team. Even when the K&A Wolverines were junior B team, when they hosted the Keystone Cup years ago, lost in the finals to the BC team here. The next year they moved into the SIJHL as the Thunder Bay Wolverines. And, I ended up getting traded from Swan Valley back here. I ended up being their captain. And I think that was always something. We were just the other Thunder Bay team. Kevin, our GM, was an assistant coach on that team. And I think that's probably something that he felt strongly about as well. I've never had that, formal conversation with them, but I can imagine that it was like, no, we're not the other Thunder Bay team. We're the Kam River team. And, Kam River, the Kaministiquia River is a huge river that flows through the heart of Thunder Bay. It goes through Stanley for one, and Kekabeka Falls. Kekabeka Falls, for anyone that doesn't know, I think it's got to be top 3, if not top 2 tallest waterfalls in Ontario or Canada, I think. I should know. I'm from here, but
just short of Niagara Falls, I believe. I mean, Niagara's number 1, obviously, but it's right behind it.
Yeah, Niagara definitely has more water going through. That's for sure. It's huge. But Kekabeka Falls, that's the Kam River, and it's a very powerful river. It's a very significant river to, the culture and the history in Thunder Bay, especially if you're looking way back to, Fort William itself and where Old Fort is now. But also the Kaministiquia River has a significance to the Indigenous people of this region. And to us, that's something that's very meaningful. It's something that we want to recognize and hopefully eventually, honor in a way that we can maybe be a part of that culture, or at least, I don't want to say part of the culture, but at least, represented and kind of have people surrounding it that believe in the power of what we're doing. So I can't put words in my owner's mouth, but I can only assume that was a big part of it. Again, like I said, it's a very significant river. You can't really, come to Thunder Bay without at some point crossing it or being around it. And, where our rink is, the Thunder Bay Tournament Center is kind of out towards the American border a bit. It's about, it's still within city limits, but it's definitely about, 10 minutes from the heart of Thunder Bay. And you got to cross the Kam River to get there. It's kind of nestled at the bottom of the, Mount McKay, the Loch Lomond Ski Hill area. And again, all the people that live in that area are a stone's throw away from the Kam River. And to us, I think that's important. We want that community support, that, everyone in that area being proud to come to our games and, be part of the Kam River Fighting Walleye family. So I think, to me, I can only assume that was a big part of that name.
The pond, is that what we're calling the rink, or are we going to still call it Thunder Bay?
Well, it's called the Thunder Bay Tournament Center. I think we're going to start. I think we're going to informally, for sure, refer to it as the pond. The voice of the walleye, Blaine, Blaine Carlson. He'll be referring to it as a pond, I bet. And I think
to mistake the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim or the San Jose.
No, it'll be the Walleye Pond or the Kam River Pond, however we're going to refer to it. But I'm pretty sure that's kind of what we're taking to calling it for now, at least. And who knows? Maybe we have some fan contest where someone gives it a better nickname. So
it'll be a separate rink from the other Thunder Bay team. Big brother, little brother, friendly rivalry. Crosstown rivalry. First time this has happened really in a little while for Thunder Bay at this level. What would you like to see in terms of that relationship, if I could call it that, between you and the other team?
Oh, for sure. And I mean, I'm only going to talk from a coaching or hockey standpoint. Yeah. I'm sure, again, I'm only speaking from, an assumption side of things. I'm sure the owners will always have their beefs. That's just part of it. And that's good. That's what's going to create that little bit of friction is what's going to create the on-ice product of competition being, 10 out of 10, right? So I love that. But, their coach, Rob DeGagne, is a great man, well-respected man in Thunder Bay, and he's a good coach as well. I have a great relationship with him. He knew before anybody knew. He knew before he knew that I was going to be the coach. We were sitting in the stands actually both scouting a local midget AAA game. And we had a really good talk about it, and he was very supportive. He even offered, if I ever need anything, I can give him a call. And, we're excited to kind of be rivals and to kind of go head to head. I'm sure the water bottles won't be flying over the glass or anything, but, we will be pushing each other. I'm sure we'll have a couple death stares, a couple choice words at some point, but that's just all part of it. And, I'm excited to kind of go against him. I know he's like I said, a really good coach, and he's got a really good team. And I know a lot of their players, pretty personally as well. And I'm excited to see what we can put, what we can put, what kind of product we can put together to kind of push them, because that crosstown rivalry is going to create something really special, I think, especially, when you start seeing walleye jerseys in the Fort William Gardens, or you start seeing North Stars jerseys in the Thunder Bay Tournament Center, and you got fans getting into it, that's when you really know that you've tapped into something, right? And that's something I talked about when I got hired in my interviews. Was I want to help, or at least be part of, reinvigorating that love for hockey, not hockey, but like junior hockey in Thunder Bay, because for a long time we were talked about across the nation, across the continent, as a hockey town, and this town that lives and bleeds for hockey. And I think that's something, and I'm not trying to knock our city in any way, but I will say, as someone who grew up in that, and now I'm coaching in what I would say is a different culture. It's definitely not this hockey town that it used to be. I remember going to Flyers games and Thundercats games, and even North Stars games when I was a kid, and it was there was a feeling in the building. You could feel how much everyone was enjoying themselves and were behind this team, and they loved it, right? So I think both organizations are excited to help kind of spark that again. And as long as we're doing what we can to do that in a respectful and competitive manner, I think we could be onto something pretty cool here. So I'm really excited for it.
That's awesome. So we're waiting. We did a little bit of renovations into the rink that's going to happen for the near future. Obviously, Matt, if you have an opportunity to be with this team for a little bit longer, and a lot longer, hopefully, what would you like to see from the Kam River program that would consider itself not just successful, but making a mark on the map?
Yeah, I mean, everyone always talks about winning and success and how you measure that. And, for me, personally, of course you want to win for sure, but to be truly successful in my mind, you're not winning at all costs, right? You're number one. I think our priority is going to be developing these young athletes for the next level. So especially those kids that are here for, so many kids I talk to want to play college hockey. Well, our goal is to get them looks at college. But you're never going to promise a kid anything. You put him in the right situations or scenarios, and you develop his skill to a point where he can be successful. At the end of the day, he's got to perform when the people are watching. And to me, that's going to be something that I kind of hang my hat on, or we as an organization want to hang our hats on, is that we've moved kids on to the next level, whether it's, semi-pro, NCAA Division III, NCAA Division I, CIS, whatever it is. We want to move kids on to the next level. And on that same regard, maybe we have a 17-year-old who's here for 2 years and he lights it up and he ends up going to the NA. To us, that's something we're proud of. We're as much as we do want to win, which is something we're going to strive for eventually. I know we're going to be pushing to host the Dudley Cup at some point, whether I'm here or not. And eventually challenging to go win an RBC. That's the whole point of having a junior A team. And you don't want to look past the hurdles directly in front of you for sure, but that's the end of the rope for us for sure, is winning. But in that meantime, our main goal, I know myself and my hockey operations staff, my general manager and director of scouting, we want to move kids on to the next level, develop kids for the next level. And that's something that I think we'll measure our success on is, are we actually, developing these kids to be not only better athletes, but better people too. So, getting involved in the community, volunteering at schools, running a hockey school program for, our junior walleyes in Thunder Bay, whether it's kids from 4 years old to 17 years old, we're wanting them to be part of the walleye family. And, to me, if you're having a kid that he's 7 years old and he dream of being, Jaden Marakic or Colin Wiseman or Alex Enegren or Austin Madge, they want these kids' autographs that are on our team, and they want to be on the wall one day. I think then, we've done what we set out to do, and it's you're a young kid that you're dreaming to be a walleye. I think then that we can be proud of what we've built, right? And I coached a kid in a spring team last year. He's a Bantam AAA player. He'll be a minor midget player this year. He used to come watch our North Stars games, and he wanted to be Mitch Forbes is a buddy on my North Stars teams, and he grew up wanting to be a Thunder Bay North Star, that kid. You know what I mean? So the North Stars have done that. They've stuck around. They're a successful program, and that's good for them. And that's something we want to work towards, is having, like I said, these young athletes in Thunder Bay like dreaming to be walleye, right? So if we can get there one day, I would be super proud.
So how much of the team have we got set up, or do we have players signed yet for next year, or what's the next step for that, Matt?
Well, we can't officially sign players till June 1. That's when, well, that's the usual date. Hopefully that's the case, right? Like, we're always going to be bound by what Hockey Canada sets as our return to play guidelines here. And which is great, because obviously Hockey Canada has nothing but the utmost important things at the forefront here, which is everyone's safety. Everyone knows that. So we're going to, once we can sign guys June 1, we will be signing guys. We have a good chunk of players that we're ready to ink right away. But if I was to look at my list of players right now, players that have like verbally committed or signed a letter of intent to play for us, we could put a team on the ice tomorrow. No problem at all. We'd actually have to probably make some cuts. So that's huge. Like, we have a lot of players. Obviously, we've announced players like I said, Alex Endegren, Jaden Marakic, Robert Tiska, Carson Gorst, Colin Wiseman, Bryson Cataldo, Tristan Goodman. These are all kids that have been announced, and Austin Madge is another one, a goaltender. So we have some of our core ready to go here. And we've kind of been asked to not announce any more players. It's kind of like obviously, since hockey operations are ceasing to exist, we shouldn't be out doing that, and I understand that part of it. So, but we did our work, we did our homework, and April was a busy month for us, and like I said, we're ready to go right now. But the next step obviously is June 1, ink some players, and once we can kind of, like, for lack of a better term, get the floodgates open again in terms of recruiting, we're going to start hitting the phones again and start to fill in those gaps. And our goal for our spring camp, our summer camp, which we've been allowed to set the date for, August 21st through the 23rd weekend. So that'll be our summer camp. Our goal is 80 players. So that's 4 teams, four teams of about 15 skaters and 3 goalies. And that's kind of all we want. We don't want to over recruit, right? We don't want to get all these players coming in and, they're just here to, wear a jersey for a weekend and see you later. We want kids that we strongly feel can play, and it's going to be a competitive camp. And then whenever our main camp can be, which is probably going to be mid-September, that's an even more competitive camp. And then from there, I think the goal is for the league to start at the end of September, early October. That's best case scenario. We're going to have to see how the next few weeks or months play out, but that's kind of the next few steps in front of us there.
Matt, I've asked this question to other coaches as well as coaches that have been players in the past. How hard do you think it'll be should we come back to regular play without fans in the stands?
That's a good question. I mean, right on the coattails here of this Korean baseball league that's been flying through the television here. Yeah. Which I have to admit, I watched some highlights on them. I'm gonna keep watching it. It's something to watch, and I love it. I love baseball too, but I like the NC Dinos. Anyways, that's totally off topic. The return to play for hockey, like NHL, I think they can do it because of the TV rights. Maybe even the AHL on the East Coast because of the support they get from other organizations. But junior hockey, I don't see a world in which junior hockey could return to play without fans. I think so many organizations and teams rely on their fan support, not only price of admission for tickets or sell of hot dogs and Pepsi and whatever else, but just that like community support, that community involvement, and if you don't have that, I really don't see more like, a good chunk of teams surviving. Some teams I'm sure could do it. I'm sure their budgets are a bit bigger. But I think we would need to be at least allowed to at least have 300 to 500 fans per game. And as soon as that opens up, I don't see a reason why we couldn't play. Obviously travel is still something that the world's kind of playing with. How's that going to work? When's the borders open? When is it safe to travel? Does a kid from California have to quarantine when he goes to North Dakota? Or is it just when he goes across the border to Canada? Like, how does that work? And, who's making those decisions? I don't know. But once I think we're allowed to have gatherings of a few hundred people, I think that, the CJHL and Hockey USA and everyone kind of getting on board with that, I think that we will be allowed to play. It's just a matter of, travel and how that's going to look. So I hope it happens soon, but at the same time, you don't want it to happen too soon, because then that's when you start to run into problems too. So,
especially for an inaugural team, when you have the success that you're hoping for, and I mean, you're rallying back on a 2-goal deficit, and you tie it up, and your fans are going AWOL, and that emotion and that raw noise, not white noise, raw noise of just cheering and congratulations is certainly going to be missed if we can't have fans in the stands. And I know for a Kam River program, that's something you would love to have your players feed on. I know you would probably feed off of it, knowing that you wear the emotions on your sleeve, so to speak, as a head coach. And Matt, when it comes down to it, I mean, what else would you like to tell people about this program that we haven't touched on just yet?
I think the biggest thing, I think in a roundabout way, we've sort of hit in one way or another, the essence of what we're doing here. But I think, if I could kind of sum it up in a quick phrase, which obviously you can tell nothing's quick about me, I'm a little long-winded, but I think that, I want players or fans or people to know that we are building, a legitimate junior A program here. This isn't something we're just throwing together. This isn't some bunch of guys sitting around at a country club saying we should start a junior A team. Well, as much as they are a group of owners that, are tight knit and thought, why not? They did their homework, they did their due diligence, and their vision is that of an elite level junior A program, almost major junior or college level type professionalism. In terms of the full-time staff, in terms of and that goes, we're in the process of, like I said, we're going to have 4 coaches here, announcing the 4th one. The goalie coach coming on soon. We're just finalizing some details with him, so I won't talk about that too much. And same with our off-ice trainer, athletic trainer, and dietitian. It's a guy and his wife from Thunder Bay that are, very knowledgeable and know what they're doing, and they're going to have, some real nice things. The kids are already reaching out to them and getting workout programs personalized for them based off what they have. And then, again, on top of that, we have, a really nice athletic training staff in terms of our, equipment managing and, medical staff and stuff like that. And then the facilities, right? Like right next door to us, we're in partnership with a hotel, which our players have full access to. That's pool, hot tub, sauna, gym. And it's, again, going to be a program built for them where they go in their small groups and do it. The twin pad at our arena allows us to have full access to the ice during the day for our kids to work on individual skills with their coaches or just, in their small groups and stuff like that. So that, in addition to the dressing room renovations and the fact that, we have the full restaurant and bar and some VIP boxes and again, just the crazy things that our owners have. I don't want to say crazy because it's awesome, but the things that our owners are committed to doing and the vision they have for this program is that of like I said, semi-professional level team, and kids that are coming are super excited about that. And kids that are considering it, I think, once they start to understand again, what we're all about here and what we're trying to do, it's going to be something really special for a lot of kids and their families too. So, once we have, like I said, the green light to kind of get going again, and we start to build that community support up to where we want it to be, this is, like I said, going to be, professional level junior A team here. It's going to be great.
It sounds like it's not just a startup. This is like a resource-filled, abundant amount of support from its owners and from its community already, and the beginning of a great network for not just Thunder Bay businesses, Thunder Bay community, but getting the next level attention to some of these players is truly commendable and very incredible to see from an inaugural team. Matt, I want to thank you very much for joining me. I want to thank you for introducing me to the staff that is now currently with the Fighting Walleye, as well as the ones that will be mentioned. We'll be looking forward to those updates as they come. We won't break their bubble, so to speak. I'm still looking for my Fighting Walleye hat, and hopefully that'll show up soon in the mail. We'll see what happens.
You got to talk to our president, Derek Eddies. He's the...
Yeah, I know. I keep bugging Derek every once in a while. He's like, yeah, it's on the way. I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah, you can tell him to throw in a polo for me too when you get a chance. Just kidding. Chico takes care of me really well. He's the best. We like to take our little jabs at each other. That's just our relationship.
You know what? Him and you talk about Carlson too. I mean, those two guys are. You talk about. It's not about just doing something for doing something's sake. There's a belief. There's an ownership. When you own something, you have that. It's more full embodied. It's like grabbing the importance of it all and being well-rounded and well-shaped. Yeah, I think that is what I'm seeing from this organization. Talking from the people that are involved in the media side, that yourself as the coach, and hearing what Mr. McCallum has to say. Very important group of guys that really want to see this succeed well from all sets and standpoints. Matt, I want to ask you one last question, and it's a bit of a irky one. Without having the Keystone Cup this year, how hurt was Thunder Bay not being able to host that?
Well, I mean, I think in general that was a special event. Chico, we call him Derek Getty's president. He had a really, really, really exciting event planned in terms of live music and fan interaction and all this stuff. He was doing it right, and it sucks. But you know what? I'm gonna lump it in and get a little cliche about it. It's like we're all in the same boat. Like for example, the team I coached, those kids missed out on their OHL Cup. And because of that, some of them didn't get drafted to the OHL. So I think if you put things in perspective, where it's like, what about those seniors that were playing, high school basketball for the last time, or they were a senior in college hockey and they missed out on something. Like, we all missed out on something, and it's terrible. It is what it is, but it was for the right reasons. So it's definitely not a great thing, but the nice thing is, this isn't finalized for sure, but the word is that we might get it next year. So that'll be good for our organization now, as we are keeping our junior B team, as well as our junior A team. So it'll kind of be a nice little thing where I get to work with those junior B players as well. So those kids that maybe don't quite make our junior A team and have to play a year junior B, well, now I get to work with them. I don't just send them off to some other town or some other team. I get to, bring them up for practices or go to their practices or, watch their games or call them up for our games and stuff like that. And, so that's going to be interesting, or exciting. But, as far as the Keystone goes, it's one of those things that, it definitely was one of those things that stung, it burned, but there was a lot that happened for a lot of people. That was the same. So it sucks. But, as you kind of said earlier too, we're talking about Chico and Blaine and Kevin, all these guys, and the way they dove in and did their homework and they're committed to this and there's a passion for it. And, without sounding too cheesy, it's kind of like when you catch a walleye, right? Like if you're not committed to getting that thing off the hook, it's just going to wiggle around on you. So you got committed and you got to just dive right in and make sure that dorsal fin don't get you. And so I think it's something that's really exciting and something that I'm proud to be a part of. My passion, my energy, my enthusiasm, and it is something that I'm just really, 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 really honored to bring to the table. And I think that's something our group is really going to kind of work together on, is, like I said, using our passion to build something special here.
Do you fish, Matt?
Yeah, I do actually. Well, not as much. I actually golf more now.
Okay.
I fell in love with golfing about, I would say 8 years ago. But, my whole life, I grew up in a rural community, Murillo, Ontario. It's in between Quebec Falls and Thunder Bay. Fished the Kam River my whole life. I was about 4 minutes from it. Used to ride my bike or drive my dirt bike down to it and catch walleye right out of the Kam River for a good chunk of my life. And then, we had a family camp on Dog Lake, which the Kam River flows out of as well, I think. I should look up on my geography. But
you're a math teacher. You're not a geography. You're a math teacher. So.
Math and physics. Okay, you talk to me about that, I'm good. Geography, I don't know. But, so I fished a good chunk of my life. I still love fishing. I just, when I get a minute in the summertime, which isn't a lot, I like to go golfing with the boys for sure.
Yeah, so you're more of a drive for show, putt for double bogey guy, or? Yeah,
I would say I'm about a 15 handicap, so I'm not much of a stick. There's times where I've never broken 80. I've definitely had my fair shares of rounds in the low 90s. I'm not the best golfer. Like I said, I'm not a stick, but I definitely love swinging the steel, and I love getting out there on the course. It's definitely my favorite thing to do in the summer, and I'm working towards getting that handicap down so I can shoot at least in the mid 80s. on a regular basis, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. I need some serious work.
Right on, Matt. Well, I want to thank you very much again for joining us today here on the ice on Amateur Sports TV. Look forward to seeing the rest of the team, especially the coaching staff, being formed up here in the coming weeks. And I'm sure we'll talk to you before the beginning of the season. How's that sound?
Sounds great. Thanks a lot, Theo, and to ASTV for having us again. Like I said, this is great. It's a great way not only for me and you to just shoot the breeze a bit, but talk walleye hockey and talk hockey in general, and get our brand out there a bit more. So, thank you.
Good luck to everything in the recruiting, and hopefully we're able to see. I'm looking forward to hearing how well you guys do in your first year. I look forward to it, and it's great talking with you, Matt. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Theo. You too. Bye-bye.